Hello and welcome to the Private Practice Podcast. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and with nearly 30 years experience in the industry, I'm really excited to share practical insights, valuable wisdom, and all the tools that you need to build a thriving private practice. So whether you're a counsellor, psychologist, social worker, or play therapist, this podcast is all about keeping it real with stories, strategies, and all the support you need to help you flourish in business. We're going to be embracing a mind, business, spirit approach, diving into honest conversations that will uplift your practice and soul. And if you haven't already, come and join us in the Counsellors Connect Australia Facebook group. It's totally free and you'll find a warm, supportive community of like-minded professionals. So go grab your favorite drink, your journal, a pen, get cozy, and let's dive into the mind, business, spirit approach to private practice that you've been looking for. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Private Practice Podcast. I'm your host, Brooklyn, and it's so good to be here. Today, we've got a really juicy topic to unpack together, and it's come about because I've been doing website audits, as you know, and as part of that, I have a little bit of a squiz at people's Instagram and Facebook, and what I've noticed is a couple of things that could be a little bit concerning. So I want to just kind of bring it to your attention, to your awareness, so that you know about it and you can make healthy, informed, safe decisions moving forward, because I think this could be, it's got the potential to perhaps get some therapists in hot water. So I really want to try and avoid that if possible. So what are we talking about? I know it wouldn't be a podcast episode without me being a little bit controversial, would it? Today we are going to be looking at social media in private practice and how therapists are using their social media, and we're going to have a specific focus on what's happening with Palestine and Israel. Now, I'm not going to get into the politics of Palestine and Israel. Everybody's got their own views on that. That's totally fine. I'm not interested in who's for and who's against what and all of that. It's not why we're here. We're here today to look at how do we as an industry manage this, and how do we conduct ourselves in a way that's really ethical that's ethical and that helps the community to feel safe, right? So we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive. Now you're going to think, oh, this is going to be so boring, Brooklyn, because we're going to be talking about ethics. No, it's not boring. It's actually really interesting. But I want to touch on the ACA Code of Ethics, the PACFA Code of Ethics, and the Australian Psychological Society Code of Ethics. So I think I've pretty much covered everybody there. I'm sure there are some play therapists, but to be honest, I haven't seen this happening on play therapists' social media just yet. Not to say it's not happening, it could be, but if you're a play therapist and you're listening along, I'm sure some of this will be relevant to you too. So here's what I saw, and it kind of made me raise my eyebrows because it's not something I would do. Not that everybody should do what or how I do, but you know, when you see things that look a little bit different to what you normally do, you kind of go, what's this about? So I came up on my feed because I'm as you know, in our world, and I'm following as many of you as I possibly can, and I love seeing everything that you're doing. But I have noticed a number of counsellors in particular doing things like live streaming themselves, chanting some slogans, holding on to flags, and being very passionate about things, going on big marches, and And it was surprising to me. And I saw that there were instances of private practice Instagram feeds where nearly the whole feed was clogged up with this stuff. And I had a look and I was tapping on the different tiles, to see what was on these videos. And the videos were quite loud and almost a little bit scary, actually, to see. But there were the therapists, very, as I said, very passionate. As I said, they were chanting, waving flags, stuff like that. I saw scuffling and pushing, and some therapists saying things that perhaps nice things to say to people, or maybe even not respectful things to say to people. And even some therapists had written very, I guess you could say, triggering captions on their social media to accompany these videos. So it got me thinking, are we able to do this, number one? And where does it become crossing the line? So, as I said, we're not here to talk about the actual politics. We're here to talk about the ethics of our social media and how we use it. So let's have a look at what I was able to deduce from the ACA, right? And you might be able to go to the ACA if you're in the Australian Counselling Association. You might be able to go to their Code of Ethics yourself and have a bit of a look. I think it's important to do because you want to know that what you're doing on your social media is ethical. Because obviously we don't want to be behaving in a way that's not. So the first thing that I was able to find was integrity and professionalism, really. That was the thing that really struck me. It was sort of saying, the Code of Ethics here is saying that therapists are expected to maintain a professional image, both in person and online. And so posting politically charged content could be seen as compromising their impartiality and their professionalism. Now, this is so important, right? Think about this, compromising their impartiality. What does this mean in everyday terms for your private practice? Well, let's say, and this is something that isn't in the Code of Ethics, but this is something I feel very strongly about. I'm about transparency, as you know. Like, I bear it all. You heard the last episode. Well, not the episode where I was teaching you how to automate your Helixy intake form, but the one before that. I'm happy to bare my soul and be completely transparent with you. And so authenticity is one of my really, really big values. And so when I saw some of these posts on some therapists' Instagram, I then went and had a look at the website, which was very easy to do because I just clicked the link in bio. And on the website, sure as eggs, it says, I provide a safe space, you know what I'm going to say, where you won't be judged. Everyone's welcome here. It's like peace, love, and moonbeams. And I behave very ethically, and I'm in the ACA. So that's a problem, I think, when it comes to integrity, because here we've got you saying one thing, yet over here you're saying something completely different. So we've got something here that's out of alignment and you're not in integrity. And I think that, let's say you were a potential client, irrespective of that client's beliefs about what's happening. For example, I'm just saying Palestine, Israel, because that's the thing at the moment. I know it was, and it still is, UK and Russia, the Ukraine and Russia. But this is a hot topic at the moment. So imagine you're a client and you're coming along and you're thinking to yourself, I need to find a therapist here. And you go on Psychology Today, you find a therapist website, a profile on Psychology Today rather. It looks great. You go visit their website. That looks great. And then they've got the social share icons that takes you to their Instagram and their Facebook. And you click those and then you see all this, right? How are you going to feel? Are you going to feel like this person is impartial? No. Are you going to feel like they're going to be judgment-free? No. What if you've got a different opinion to this person that you wanted to go and book in for a therapy session with? Are you going to trust that that person can sit there and you can share your concerns and they're going to be okay with that? No. So it's causing problems here with client connection, because we've got issues with your integrity and your authenticity. If you're going to be very, very passionate and very, very strong about one side, then you need to update your website and remove the things from the website that say, I provide a safe space, because the reality is you're not providing a safe space. There are going to be clients who feel very upset or triggered or exposed or vulnerable, or, you know, whatever verbiage you want to use. They're not going to feel safe with you, right? So I think that you need to either say, well, I'm going to go and share all of this stuff on my social media and I will update my website accordingly. Or you say, well, this is really important to me and I am going to go and do things about it on my social media. But maybe instead of doing it under your business social media account, you go and make yourself up a private personal account and you do it under that. That's another option, right? Instead of getting very political and putting politically charged content onto your social media under the name of your private practice, just do it under your own name or create a different profile, right? So integrity and professionalism, they were the things that came out. Is it professional like that? How does it fit in with professionalism? If I see my therapist, let's say I've got a psychologist that I'm seeing or a counselor that I'm seeing, and I've been working with them for a little while, and then I'm following them on social media, and boom, up comes pictures of them holding flags and chanting not nice things on a march, etc., etc. How's it going to make me feel? Am I going to still want to go back to that next session? I don't know. If I align with them, probably, but if I don't, then no. So it's got potential here to also damage the therapeutic relationship, okay? The second thing that jumped out at me on a review of the ACA Code of Ethics and social media posting was respect for others. So this is something that's interwoven throughout the ACA Code of Ethics, and it's something that I really admire them for including, actually, this idea of respect for others. And, you know, it really speaks to the fact that therapists must respect the diverse backgrounds and beliefs of their clients and the public. So if you're posting on social media live footage of yourself chanting things and waving flags and going on marches and demonstrations and sit-ins and protests and things like that, is that you having respect for the diverse backgrounds and the diverse beliefs of the public? It's not. So are you behaving ethically? No. Posting polarizing content might actually alienate and or distress members of the public. And that's not okay. And it's actually against the ACA Code of Ethics if what you're putting up is alienating and distressing based on the political content, right? So I think that this is so important. The last one, it's like a little bit of a stretch, but think about confidentiality, because although political posts might not directly breach confidentiality, they can indirectly affect the trust that clients place in you as their therapist. And that's something that's really important. And what's that going to mean if a client feels like they can't trust you anymore? Are they now going to have to disengage from services with you and go and start their journey somewhere else? And what's your role in that? And what's your responsibility? And what are your obligations there? So these were just 3 points that I was able to glean from the ACA Code of Ethics. Okay. PACFA is a little bit different. Of course, the PACFA includes what we've just discussed, but it goes into a little bit more detail. And what I was able to take away from a review of their Code of Ethics was another 3 points. The first one was non-maleficence, right? And that's that we have this idea with PACFA that therapists are required to avoid actions that could cause harm to the public, right? Political posts that might incite a strong reaction could absolutely be seen as harmful by PACFA, and that post would be a view of you breaching the Code of Ethics. The second one there is boundaries, and so ACA have information on boundaries as well in their Code of Ethics, but PACFA is sort of saying, look, therapists should always maintain really clear professional boundaries. Your personal political views, especially when you're sharing them publicly, might blur these boundaries. And think about why that could be a problem for your clients, and think about why that could be a problem for your practice and for your business, right? Is this what you want your business to be known for or not? How is what you're doing potentially blurring that line for clients. It reminds me of the confidentiality that we just discussed with the ACA Code of Ethics around some political posts not directly breaching it, but indirectly definitely affecting the trust that clients are placing in you and in the process, right? And then the third one there, and this is not unique to PACFA. In fact, we see this in the ACA Code of Ethics as well as the Australian Psychological Society Code of Ethics that we'll go into next, is the idea of public responsibility. So as practitioners, we have a duty to contribute positively to public discourse, right? It's our responsibility to create safe spaces for people to share their thoughts without judgment, right? We need to ensure that our social media content does not cause public distress as part of this responsibility, right? So I guess that's something to really consider before we post more of this. We've got this public responsibility to contribute positively to public discourse. If you were going to contribute positively to public discourse, what would that look like? If you took the emotion and the rage and the anger and all those big feelings out of it, and you were able to just sit down and have a conversation with someone who had a different point of view to you, what would that look like? How would you want it to look like, right? Those kinds of things. And that would be how you approach these hot topics on your social media. The next one is the Australian Psychological Society, looking at their Code of Ethics. So again, the 6 points that I've been able to glean, because I didn't go into it like so thoroughly because I wanted to like touch on each of the main codes of ethics here. But the APS Code of Ethics, of course, includes the 6 points that we've already discussed, but I've got another few for you here. So the first one that came through for me was respecting the rights and dignity of people and peoples. So this is a principle in the APS Code of Ethics that really underscores the need for psychologists, especially, to be respecting the rights of others and to avoid engaging in actions that could be perceived by other members of the community as disrespectful. So I thought that was really important because it's nuanced here, and we're talking about politics on social media. So thinking about it through that lens, what does that mean for you as a psychologist? Like, think about it in terms of practicalities, right? Are you able to, would it be considered respectful if you added a frame to your profile pic that was political? Would that be considered respectful of other people's rights or not, right? Would it be avoiding an action or not that could be perceived as disrespectful? Probably not. So do you remember even back when we had COVID and people were getting very political and they were doing things like adding frames that said, I'm jabbed, you're welcome, or I don't remember if that's what it is. I remember the you're welcome part, things like that, or I'm jabbed so you don't have to, and things like that. Under the APS Code of Ethics, those things would have been clear breaches and they could have been notifiable. So it's just something to be mindful about. What you post needs to not be perceived as disrespectful if you're a psychologist, right? The other thing I was able to take away after a review of the APS Code of Ethics was about propriety. So psychologists are expected to ensure that their actions don't compromise their own professional standing, right? So publicly posting things that are politically charged, like your content, could be viewed as compromising. Yep. I don't think that needs any further explanation. And then the last one, of course, is responsibility, that psychologists must always act in ways that maintain the trust of the community. So these kinds of highly charged political posts do the opposite, don't they? Distressing or polarizing content could erode this trust. And that in itself is going to have, implications for not only your business, but for you as a health professional, for you as a practitioner, but also for your clients and that therapeutic relationship that you have. So, is posting highly charged political content on your social media reportable? Is it reportable? Well, we've got kind of three things that I was able to take away when I look at all these three codes of ethics together. I pull them all together and I'm trying to look at the through lines here. Here are the three things I was able to identify for myself. The first one is feeling unsafe. So if a member of the public saw that post and felt unsafe, they can actually file a complaint with all three bodies. They could go to, well, not all at once because you wouldn't be registered with all of them, but the ACA, PACFA and APS all receive and are happy to receive notifications and reports and complaints from a member of the public if a therapist's political posts have made them feel unsafe. So yeah, it's reportable with all three organisations. Is it an ethical breach and is it reportable? Well, the professional body will assess whether or not the posts constitute a breach of ethical guidelines, and they will consider things like potential for harm, professionalism, and public distrust, as well as disrespect. So this is really important. What this is saying is a member of the public might be able to go to ACA, PACFA, and APS and send screenshots or download your video and, sorry, I just hit my microphone, and send that in as part of the complaint. And it's up to ACA, PACFA, or APS to review the content. Even if you've deleted it, they'll still have it in the complaint. They will review that content for themselves and they will make a decision about whether or not there's been an ethical breach. What happens there is different for each professional body as they all have different protocols for handling breaches. But it could be that you need to do some more PD, of course, delete the offending posts. It could be that you need to amp up your supervision and maybe even go and do some PD in understanding diversity and maintaining professionalism when you're posting on your social media. So possibly even some social media, and ethics training there. And then the last one that I was able to find under my little heading here of is it reportable was really around public and professional image. So even if it's not strictly unethical, these highly charged political posts can damage your own professional image. Very damaging for your own professional image and for the public's trust in the profession. And again, perhaps possibly reportable, I'm not sure, but yeah, even if what you're doing isn't strictly breaking any of the codes of ethics and things like that, it's helpful to understand that even posting these things could damage your own image. And with so many therapists looking for more clients and looking to fill their books and looking for opportunities and experiences for their business and growth and expansion and things like that, this could really go against that. So I guess while we all have the right to our own personal opinions, we're all going to have a personal opinion on what's happening, right? We will. But as health professionals, we must balance this with professional responsibilities, okay? So posting politically charged content can be highly risky and potentially unethical if it causes harm, if it breaches professional boundaries, or if it damages the public's trust, okay? If there are concerns about political posts like this, they can be reported to the relevant professional body who will then assess them and take action as needed, right? So I just wanted to share that because I don't want any of you getting in hot water. I don't want any of you breaching ethics. I do want you all to feel like you can still have an opinion and, of course, have a voice. You absolutely can. But as your coach and as your supervisor and as your mentor, my advice is do those things under a pseudonym. Don't do them under your business profile on Instagram. Don't put stuff like that on your Facebook business page or anything like that either. Just really try and keep everything very separate where you can. Because unlike other professions, we aren't working for McDonald's, right? We're not an employee of, I don't know, Harvey Norman. Like we just can't go out and share our stuff. We're health professionals, and we've got very, very strict rules that govern our behavior, both in person with our clients and in the online space, that are there for a reason. We work with the most vulnerable people in the community. Vulnerable people. So even if somebody agrees with your political stance, they're still vulnerable and they still could be triggered by what you're doing or how you're behaving, right? It might be very scary for a client who is seeing you for support around big T trauma, or maybe little T trauma. It doesn't matter, trauma. Maybe they're seeing you for trauma, and then your post comes up on Instagram, it's highly politically charged. What's it going to do? It's going to exacerbate pre-existing symptoms, right? And that person's going to have a setback. And are they going to feel comfortable coming and seeing you again? I don't know. It's something to just have a think about. So I'm not saying don't have a voice. Have a voice, right? Just keep it separate from the work that you're doing in the interest of maintaining respect for the rights and the dignity of people and peoples, okay? Respecting other people's rights, avoiding things that could be perceived by the public as being disrespectful, right? Don't put yourself in any compromising positions, things like that. We want to keep you safe, we want to keep your clients safe, and we want to make sure that the public don't lose faith in therapy or therapists, right? What if some poor client was looking for a therapist and they came across 3 therapists who were all, banging on their social media about, Gaza and, all this sort of stuff, right? Scary stuff. If you're already vulnerable, scary stuff. Where do you find your safe place? And it undermines what you're marketing on your website, because on your website, you're all, as I said before, love, light and moonbeams, saying how you love everyone and everyone's welcome here and da-da-da-da-da, when actually, no, they're not, according to what you're putting on your social media. So just really things to sit with and think about. And if any of this is, I guess, making you wonder if you might have breached any codes of ethics, the good thing about that is, while you might be in an uncomfortable position right now, it's good because you can go back, have a look at any of your posts. If you feel like any of them might be compromising, that's okay. Just delete them, get rid of them, and replace them with something that's more respectful, that is respectful of other people's rights, that appreciates a diverse discourse, that provides people with a safe space, all those kinds of things that you're already highly skilled at doing, right? Or, as I said, make yourself another account under a pseudonym or something like that, right? So they're just some ideas. And of course, if you wanted to, absolutely go and take this to supervision, because that could be a wonderful way for you to get clarity. You could ask your supervisor, hey, look at this. Do you think that this is breaching any of the codes of ethics? I really just want to make sure, this is so important to me that I do want to share my voice on this, but am I doing it in a way that's ethical? And get your supervisor to guide you through how to have your voice, but do it in a way that's ethical, okay? Anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you today. And this is one of the things, again, that pops up with marketing. And if you would like to come along to the free workshop, you can. It's in a couple of weeks, actually. It's on the 7th of July, goes for 3 days. You're going to be learning how to get more clients for your practice and do it in a way that's, you guessed it, ethical and in congruence with your values, right? And as I said, you're going to get workshop, you get some templates, you'll get some swipe files, you'll get coaching from me. All your questions will be answered. You can submit work, get it reviewed. There's competitions, prizes, all this sort of stuff. It's going to be a load of fun. I've themed it Mad Men because I really loved watching Mad Men on Netflix. I'm a fangirl, and so it's kind of in that theme. So we're just going to have fun with it, right? We're not going to take ourselves too seriously. But at the end of the workshop, you'll walk away having updated and improved your website, getting more traffic to your website, and having set the practice up to receive more inquiries and to convert more inquiries as well. So if that sounds good to you and you'd like to come, check out the link below, and I would love to see you there. And thank you so much for listening to another episode of the podcast. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye. I really hope that you got so much enjoyment, value, and insights out of this episode today. And if you did, please feel free to go ahead and leave a review. When you leave a review, it means that more therapists can access this help and support and tools to support them in their private practice and in their journeys. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Have a gorgeous day.